What is going on, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a brand new LEGO Marvel Avengers video, and today it is a cool one indeed, because today we're actually going to take a look at every single Iron Man armor that is in the game. There's an actual trophy and achievement for doing so, which is pretty cool, so that is certainly something that we are somewhat going for as well, because I'd like to get that trophy. But on top of that, you guys really wanted to see all of the different armors, so that's what we're going to do here today. Now, keep in mind, I'm not really sure how the trophy works in terms of if these are all the armors that you just need to use in one play session and then unlock all of the trophies / achievements associated with that, or if you literally need to play every single Iron Man armor, including, for example, the Mark 38, or move on down and let's say select the Tony Stark character himself. Where is he, by the way? There he is, right there. So, do you need to play as the different versions of Tony as well? And I guess, you know what? This is about as good a place as any to start this video with. Now, keep in mind, I would love for you guys to vote at the end of this video in the comment section below for which is your favorite armor. There are a lot, and I mean a lot, to choose from, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys pick. I think I've got kind of like my top 3 decided. Maybe I could decide my top 5 as we make the video here today, but right now I think I have my top 3 choices already set, and with that in mind, let us begin, shall we? So first and foremost, of course, here is Mr. Tony Stark himself, the man who pilots all of these armors, and we'll get to the armors themselves in just a moment as well. There is Tony as he's seen in Avengers Age of Ultron, so no longer having, of course, the, oh my goodness, what is it called? Not the heartbeat, why can't I remember the name of that item? What's wrong with me right now? I cannot, for the life of me, recall what this is called, actually. Huh. What's the thing that was in his chest? The repulsor? Oh my goodness, what was it? It's not repulsor, right? Oh man, I swear, sometimes I go on these like blank streaks where I'm like, what's wrong with me? How could I possibly not remember the name of this particular thing? Just like, for example, I did a blind box video just a couple of days ago, and by mistake, the whole time I kept calling Bruce Wayne Bruce Banner because I was playing a bunch of LEGO Marvel prior to it. But nonetheless, let's begin with the actual armor. So we'll start with the Mark 1. Here it is, flying on in with Stan, the man Lee, putting us together. There we are. So this is the Mark 1. This is the very first armor that we see Tony Stark put together in the cave, if you remember, in Iron Man 1. It's a really, really, really cool armor. I don't know why. There's just something really charming about it. Maybe because it was the first or something like that, but I really do like this armor. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. This is my 5th most favorite armor in the game. I really, really like the design of this thing. It's super duper like, rough and definitely not well put together in comparison to the others, but I definitely do still like some of the components that it has. Plus, look at those amazing details. All that print work and everything that is done up for this figure is just exceptional. He does have a working flamethrower, which is really nice. And you can also fire away little flamethrower shots as well, or targeted attacks with your rockets. So very cool that you can still destroy silver LEGO objects. The only unfortunate thing about this figure is that you cannot fly. He just jumps. Now, technically, he did not fly in this suit ever. He just kind of launched once. But I think that would have been really, really fun if they would have had like the super jump available for him. So like the same move that we see on characters like Red She-Hulk or She-Hulk or Hulk would have been really nice to see on this guy. Just like one solitary boost, and that's all you can do. So you can't fly, but you can certainly get that one explosive boost going for the character. All right, let's go back into our armor selection here, and we're going to move on to the Mark 5. So we skip a bunch of armors like the Mark 2, 3, and 4, right over to 5. And this was the suit armor that he wore in Iron Man 2, if you recall, when he was fighting Mickey Rourke. There we go. Got a little bit stuck there. Now, most of these armors have custom animations like that, which is really nice. I do like that they went ahead and paid attention to that kind of detail, and that's really cool to see. So we can obviously fly on around. Now, again, keep in mind, guys, I'll show you the armors, and then we're actually going to play with some of the different armors around the city as well, so do not be concerned about that. But this is a really cool suit. Definitely one of those that I think a lot of people really like because it comes from a briefcase. It's just like, whoa, check this out. It's a totally normal briefcase. no, it's not. I'm Iron Man. What's up? Like, it's definitely a pretty cool idea, and the way they animated it in the game is quite cool as well. All right, next up we have the Mark 6 right here. He's calling upon it. There it is. The little gantry shows up, and this has got to be one of my favorite animations because, I mean, look at that. That's really, really, really cool. When that happened in the films, I remember everybody in the theater was like, oh, that was like the moment where you were like, okay, this is like a really, really cool character. It was the equivalent of when we see in, let's say, films like The Dark Knight Rises or The Dark Knight, when we see Batman's kind of attire or his entire kind of wardrobe with like a whole bunch of cool little gadgets and stuff. That's the equivalent of that for Marvel, and it's really, really, really awesome to see this particular armor get that really, really neat animation. Overall, though, I gotta say I'm not a big fan of the armor itself. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the triangle design for the chest. I know a lot of people do like that design. For me personally, though, simply not a big fan of it. Plus, I feel like it's a little bit too plain of a design as far as the way that it actually looks. But again, it's one of those things that's gonna be different from person to person, so I certainly could see how someone else may actually like it. Now, next up we have the Mark 7 right here, which is flying on in. There it is. Howdy doozle, come on. Tony, behind you, dude. There we go. No need to be so scared. All right, so here's, of course, the Mark 7 here, and I gotta say, the Mark 7 is actually my preferred armor between the Mark 6 and 7. They're very similar in a lot of aspects in terms of the way that they actually look, but you have the circular design instead of the triangular one. So if I had to choose between the two of them, this would definitely be the one that I would go with. I think overall, it's a little bit nicer looking, and I just like the lines on the armor a little bit better on this particular version. All right, moving on. Here we go. Mark 16. This is probably my, I would probably say my fourth most favorite armor. This is the stealth suit right here. Has a really cool little sneak up type animation, I guess, or transformation animation, whatever you want to call it. And this thing is really, really cool because it allows Iron Man to, of course, go invisible in the game. One of the very few characters that can do that, so that's quite cool. This is a stealth suit, and it looks absolutely brilliant. Really beautiful design. Obviously, you could be like, hey, that looks a lot like the Civil War outfit for War Machine, and you would be correct. There definitely is some overlaps, especially because it's all black and the red highlights along with the white lines and everything. You could definitely make some connections, but I really like the rendition of the stealth suit in this game. So far we have characters, or I guess armors 5 and 4 figured out. Let's see what's next. Alrighty, Roo, here we go. This is the Mark 17, the Heartbreaker armor right here, and this thing is absolutely gorgeous. Just a really, really beautiful suit right here. Check this thing out. Oh man, I love the design of this thing. Same exact transformation as the Mark 7, which is a little bit unfortunate. Would have been nice if it had something more unique, but I love this armor because this is one of the few armors that actually adds silver into the design. Now, there is a silver Centurion armor, which we'll look at in just a moment, but this is one of the few armors that actually has red, silver, and gold all together. Usually you would see either silver and red or gold and red, but this design kind of combined all of those into one. And I really, really like the faceplate on this armor too. I just overall really like the way that this one looks. It has some cool like vertebrae design on the back as well, and overall definitely one of the coolest looking designs in the game. All right, so then we move on to the Silver Centurion, which would be my third most favorite armor in the game. And here it is. This thing is beautiful. I love this thing because I just like the idea of how different this armor looks, and more importantly than even that, I love the concept of them doing all this extra bits on Iron Man. So like the previous armors we looked at, like let's say if we transform this guy to I don't know, let's go to the, let's do Mark 7, why not? You can see it's just a minifigure with a helmet. That's what we typically see. But here you can see there's an actual chest piece that is utilized, then there's bricks that are attached to the back of the chest piece and the front of the chest piece to give it extra bulkiness and just make the design feel more like an actual suit of armor instead of just being clothing. Like this feels like, hey, that could be a robotic suit that he walks into. And I would love to see more of these types of details given to future Iron Man designs, because I think it looks absolutely beautiful and super duper cool. And this is of course a combination of the silver and red Iron Man costume, which is very, very, very classy and classic. All right, moving on to the next armor we go. This is the Mark... Whoa, 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 whoa. How could we possibly skip the Mark 25? I mean, come on. This is definitely a really cool one right here. This is the, I guess, maybe construction suit that Iron Man would typically utilize. Like if there's some sort of construction job or maybe a rescue operation, you know, where he needs to like get rid of a bunch of gravel. This would be something that he would utilize. It's a really, really different looking suit, and I like it for that specific reason. Just like the Silver Centurion, this shows you specifically why was this armor made. Like you could almost start thinking to yourself, okay, well, what would be the functions of this armor? When did he create it? He was like, okay, there are certain situations in which I need to clear out a whole bunch of rubble and such, and now I can actually have a suit that will help me with that task. And I think that that's really, really, really cool to see. It almost like the armor itself tells you a bit of a story as to why it was created and how it has been utilized. Plus, it has the classic kind of construction colors going for it as well. All right, so moving on now to the Mark 40 here. And this is the speedy armor, the armor that allows Iron Man to go super duper uber fast. You can see it's so fast that even Tony's like, okay, I gotta slow this thing down. I can't actually get into the armor. So this armor, the reason why I like it is the faceplate, because I mean, look at that thing. And oddly enough, have you guys seen the Rogue One trailer? Doesn't that armor look a lot like the Stormtrooper that we see in the trailer, like the black one? I mean, I don't know why it reminds me of that. I was like, oh, whoa, look at that. There's some similarities between those. But this is such a really unique design. It almost looks a little bit villainous, I will say that. Even on the back here, I don't know why I feel like the back of the armor looks like a face. Like you can see the little lines and then almost like a creepy little smile and everything. Like this feels like if Iron Man ever became a bad guy, this would be an armor that he would consider wearing. It looks a lot more menacing and it has a lot more of an aggressive type of a design going for it. But overall, I still think it looks incredibly cool and quite neat as well. All right, moving on to the Mark 42, some more of the modern designs that we see in Avengers Age of Ultron, Iron Man 3, so on and so forth. So the newer armors are next. And there he is, transforming, looking absolutely stylish. A very, 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 very beautiful design right here for the Mark 42. Now, I do not want to announce yet who is my favorite armor, so let's keep it going. We will find out who the second one is in just a moment. But for now, let us proceed to the next armor, which will be the Mark 43. So the reiteration on the Mark 42. We got the call-in animation. Again, there is obviously some overlap with some of these armors where a lot of them are like, oh, that's the same animation we saw before. So that certainly is a pretty common feature between many of them. I wish that they all had different transformations, but I also understand that, like, for example, the Mark 42 and the Mark 43 are not really that different to where you could distinctly come up with a different transformation for them. But I do like that when the armor is distinctly different, like, for example, the Mark 40, the one that's, like, super fast, or the Mark 16, the stealth armor, they have unique transformations for those because those armors look different. So the transformation for them is unique to that armor's specific abilities, which is really, really smart and cool to see. Overall, though, a really nice armor as well. All right, so moving on here to the Mark 45, the newest of the armors that is available to us, at least in terms of classic colors and such. And there it is, the Mark 45, looking absolutely glorious. I love the hexagonal like shape on the chest piece there. That is really, really, really beautiful. I love the little dots and details overall on this armor, and it is looking quite stylish indeed. All right, so we will now move on to the next armor, the second to last in this particular selection, and this is the Superior Iron Man, which is, I think, the newest armor that he has in the comics right now, at least like what I'm reading in the Superior Iron Man line, or when I read the Superior Iron Man, I should say. This was one of his newest armors, and it's a really, really cool design because, again, it's so different to everything else that we've seen. It's got this really beautiful metallic sheen to it, and then the overall colors that are used for it are just different to anything else that we've seen so far. Plus, you might have noticed when the actual faceplate came up, his eyes glow blue as well, which is really cool, and a tiny little touch that I think some people would never even notice. Most people probably would never even notice. notice. But it's really cool that it's there. Like, it shows you that the folks at TT Games care about these things, and they notice those tiny little details and add them to the game. So there he is in the superior Iron Man armor, and now we move on to my second most favorite armor in the game, and that is the Hulkbuster. I mean, come on, when we knew that the Hulkbuster was going to be in the game, you know that it's going to be one of the best armors in the game. Look at this thing. It is an absolute beaut. Oh, there it is. We got the trophy / achievement unlocked, so that is absolutely glorious, and that actually allows me to 100% complete the game now, so that's really cool. But here is the Hulkbuster suit, and this thing is absolutely awesome. I will say, personally, for me, I kind of wish that it wasn't so brick built. I wish that it was actually designed more like a minifigure or a big fig, but maybe like call it a huge fig or a giant fig or something, because I just don't like that on certain angles, like right here, for example. If you look at the hips of the character, it just looks so clunky. Like, it does not look... That does not look like something that Tony Stark would design. Tony designs stuff that looks like this. It's got to have polish. It's got to look stylish. It's got to be modern. It's got to be elegant. It has all of those things. There's a reason why, since the Mark I, none of the armors have had such a clunky, bulky feel to them. But I feel like the Hulkbuster in this game looks very, very clunky. Now, keep in mind, they had to probably go for this because in real life, this is how they released the Hulkbuster. This was what the LEGO Group designed for the Hulkbuster. But I just think I would have loved to see maybe a more stylish design or something that was a little bit more polished up and not had so many exposed Lego bits to where it's like, I don't feel like Tony would have designed anything like this. Now, with that in mind, it's still the Hulkbuster suit. It allows us to have Hulkbuster and Hulk fighting, which is absolutely awesome. A very epic clash. So still gotta give it a tip of the cap, so to speak, and admire this particular armor. All right, so we're gonna go to some of the other armors that are available right here. So this is the Mark 38. This is Igor right here. This was actually what we all thought was going to be the Hulkbuster suit. I remember when the Iron Man 3 film came out and this design leaked, I remember everybody was like, oh, okay, well, there's the Hulkbuster suit. He's just going to repaint it and adjust it, and that's what's going to be used when we're going to see the Hulkbuster suit. But nope, we were all wrong about that, weren't we? The Hulkbuster suit was substantially larger than this thing, so it's really, really, really interesting to see Igor now and kind of realize that he also does have somewhat of a construction application, because from what I remember reading about this particular armor during the period of Avengers Age of Ultron, when we knew that the Hulkbuster suit was going to be different, is that this armor has essentially, like, you can see those little studs on his neck, I guess, or maybe they'll be kind of more like his not triceps. What's that muscle called? Like around your neck, like lower, top back. I don't know what they're called. But those are like little pistons that would come up so that he could hold heavy weights. So for example, if Iron Man, if there's like a building falling or something like that, this suit could fly underneath it, fire up those pistons and hold the thing in place so that everybody could be safely rescued or something. So it's a really cool actually suit because again, it tells a story and has some cool functionality in that sense as well. So I definitely do like it quite a bit, and it's the only suit that is a big fig for Iron Man specifically. There's Ironmonger in the game, but as far as an Iron Man suit that is a big fig, this guy's the only one. Hulkbuster is like a huge fig, because in comparison, if I were to, for example, select the Hulkbuster right here, just so you could kind of get an idea of how much bigger he is. Come on, Hulkbuster, come on down here. Let's hop on in, and here it is. So you can see that basically the Ironmonger reaches up to maybe the top of the knee of the Hulkbuster, so there is definitely quite a substantial difference between those two. Now, there are some other Iron Man armors, quote-unquote, like, for example, Iron Legion was actually an Iron Man suit, so to speak. It wasn't a Tony Stark suit, but it was invented by Tony, so that is something else that is included in the game. Then we also do, of course, have the Ironmonger, which is directly connected to Iron Man, the Iron Patriot, War Machine, so on and so forth. But I did want to touch up on just the few DLC armors that are in the game, including the classic Iron Man right here, which has basically no helmet, very much kind of a bare bones design, and again, there's something cool about it because it does feel very classic. Like, it feels like, okay, like that would be like the first iteration if they ever made of Iron Man as an actual minifigure. This would be the first one. It's so simple. You can see the print work on the chest, on the back, and the face and everything. It's just so simplistic in comparison to everything else that we've looked at so far, where there's all these lines and little bolts and rivets and lightning and gold and everything. It's like there's all these things that are so much more detailed and complex on these newer designs. Speaking of which, let's go on ahead and take a look at some of these other designs, including the spacesuit, which I absolutely adore. This thing is beautiful. This was the suit that was rumored to be the armor that Tony Stark was going to wear in the Guardians of the Galaxy post-credit scene. Of course, that never happened, but that was the rumor going around. I remember where everybody's like, oh, that's the suit he's going to use to go to space and, you know, interact with the Guardians. So that was definitely an interesting idea, and hey, you never know. Maybe we will see that suit at some point on our screens. Here's the Scuba Iron Man suit, which is the underwater, obviously scuba diver Iron Man. I love this suit because, again, just like with the Silver Centurion, we get the chest piece and the little armor in the middle and all these extra little bulky pieces that make the actual suit feel like armor and not just clothing, which is super duper cool to see. Plus, I love the bronze and bluish green design going for this suit as well. All right, and then last but certainly not least is the Mark 46 right here, which is the Civil War attire that Iron Man is going to be rocking and rolling in the Civil War film. Now, I gotta say, this was definitely up there. I was like, oh, is this my favorite armor? But then I thought to myself, that would be a little bit cheap and unfair because it is a DLC armor and it's not an armor that most people have access to. Plus, additionally to that, I told myself, you know what? I don't really know if I like this armor yet because I always associate the armor with scenes in the films and kind of create connections in that regard between them. So, that being said, well, which is the number one armor? Well, that would be trying to build anticipation here, trying to build anticipation. That would be the Mark 43. This is my favorite armor. I think that it's a nice crossover between most of the armors that we've seen so far. I love how complex and intricate it looks in terms of all the little details that we have throughout. I like the more circular design of the chest piece instead of the triangular one, so that's why I prefer this one personally. I like that he has so many different colors except for gold and red. You have the black kind of silvery colors appearing as well. I like the little details on the faceplate you'll notice where there's like actual black lines on it, so that looks really, really nice as well. The back of the suit looks absolutely fantastic, and yeah, I gotta go with this. So, with that in mind, ladies and gents, leave your top 5 in the comments section below. It doesn't seem like we're gonna actually have time to play today, but if you guys are interested in seeing another video where we actually just run around the city and play all the different armors, let me know if that's something that you would like to see. I would absolutely love to do that because I think it'd be a bunch of fun to just utilize the different armors and see them in action, so to speak. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm looking forward to hearing which armors you guys select because there certainly are a lot to choose from. There is the Hulkbuster suit. I'm sure that that's going to be on a lot of people's lists and maybe number 1 for most people, I would guess. But I gotta say, for me, it's number 2 because it's just, again, I just don't feel like it's super duper well done as much as it could have been. So, with that in mind, ladies and gents, thanks all for watching today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, as I mentioned before. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, have an absolutely fantastic day. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. See you laters, alligators. Bye-bye, everyone.